Welcome back, my nieces and nephews. This is Uncle Greg, aka the Free American Spirit, and we're going to get into this trailer being almost done as far as the pressure size goes, because we'll do the soft wash later. But before we do that, give the thumbs up, leave a comment, share it, and if I use any links, use them, because that makes me a couple dollars. So we left off having safety data sheets. I call them something else, emergency data, whatever. But this is kind of a binder that I put them in. So carrying a binder is very good. This Synthetic Labs is who makes the Eco Wash. I get my chemicals from Tracy at North American Pressure Outlet Store. I think that's the name of it. But if you look up North American Pressure Washing in Gainesville, Georgia, not Florida where I'm at, Gainesville, Georgia, he'll tell you everything you want to know about whatever you need. So this is a data sheet. Some of them had printed instructions like that on the back. Other ones I wrote my own. So this is really good stuff. I use that in my house wash. It's basically a little bit of surfactant, but it's some synthetic chemicals, and I don't even know what they are. I can't remember. He told me. They explained that it even called Synthetic Labs, but basically a gallon goes to a 55-gallon drum of bleach, and it enhances the bleach and stabilizes it. And there's just enough surfactant in there to put on the wall, of the house, so you're not spending all day rinsing. Of course, if you're going to do a roof, you would add more, and there's stuff there. So on a lot of these, like sodium metasilicate, I can't even say it. Basically, if you read these sheets, you'll see what the active ingredients is. And if you really want to get carried away and just go buy it online so you don't have to pay the expensive prices of all these people, that's great. But I like Tracy. He gave me a lot of information when I was starting out, and not starting out, but when I got back into it, I guess, on different products. And anywho, so that was wonderful. So let's get on with it. So that thing right there is still bugging the snot out of me. I even heated up this little top that's bent and held it straight till it cooled off, but it sagged back down. So right there we have a uniseal that's made for a 1/2 inch. That's why that close amp is there. And on the end of that close amp, come on, hose clamp, is a 90-degree elbow. So that way, coming from the pump, when your overload valve is hitting, it's splashing into the side instead of mixing stuff up in the tank for that water tank. Coming out of the bottom, I finished this up. So you have the 1 inch. By the way, this cheap Chinese thing leaked. I took it out. I put silicone on it. I put it back. Normally you do not have to do that, but the reason it's leaking is because this cheap plastic tub is not really made for tight tolerances, and when you tighten it up too much, it just kind of hops and loosens up, like it hops back a couple threads because the threads aren't deep enough or whatever. So I've got a steel one ordered. I thought I'd go China and save a couple bucks, and that was my stupid mistake. So you got your bulkhead, your 1 inch fitting, 1 inch ball valve. This is a 1 inch bar by 1 inch male iron pipe. Of course, all these 1 inch hose. Now we're going to the main strainer, which is also 1 inch, and they have 1 inch by barbs. Okay. Now I know we put a strainer up there, but trust me, you're going to want a strainer down there. And coming over here, we have a T. That's a 1 inch barb T. More hose clamps, and one T goes down to here to this one, which I meant to cut that just a little shorter, which I'll probably trim that off so if it falls out, it won't hit the ground. So I can get a bucket of water or do whatever I'm going to do. It's coming around to our mystery pump. Now, over here, we had the hose fitting thing that came out, and then you had the little, what do you call it, the 3/8 hose that wrapped around, and it went up here because there was a different fitting here. So that way when you took the trigger off the gun trigger off, whatever, it started circulating a little water from low pressure back up to high, and keep it cool for a little bit. But that's a problem, especially with the direct drives. These guys have this little hose. They don't feed it to their tank like that. They get yakking with the customer. That little bit of water in that hose only circulates so far, and then you have issues. But on that unloader over there is a thermal as a backup. So I took that out and replaced it. That's a 1/2 inch male iron pipe by 1 inch, or excuse me, 3/4 inch female reducing, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what the hell they're called anymore. And I owned the plumbing shop for 35 years, 40 years. Anywho, so 1/2 inch male by 3/4 inch female, and then that's a 3/4 inch male pipe right here down to or expanded up to a 1 inch barb so that I can fit my 1 inch hose. So I have my injector sitting there, which in between that, this is the cheap brass stuff that came with it, but that's fine. Um, I can take that out and plug in. I have a pressure gauge, so I can check pretty much the head pressure right there almost. And then I can disconnect it, quick coupling, and come over and put it on the end of the hose and check what the actual pressure is at the end of the hose, which will, tell you a lot. You'll see how much you lose through friction hose. I also turned the slip hose around. The swivel's here where it's supposed to be when I made the mistake the other day. And I want to show you this. I carry zip ties on here. Now on that hose, there's a 100-foot piece, then there's a 50-foot piece. Now this is another 50-foot piece right here, making 200-foot. Usually I buy it like one 200-foot piece. There's pros and cons. If the 200-foot piece dies, you got to take it all off. You got to take it somewhere. You got to get it repaired if they can, so there's that. On the other hand, you have all these separate pieces, which most, new guys do because they're buying them a piece at a time. And if one of them bursts or something happens, you just replace that one. So what I wanted to show you was most guys, and of course it locked on me, so bear a second here. Most guys, they have the quick couplings like that. And if you see that big ugly loop there, you got to put a lot of slack, because if you pull it tight when you're winding it up, right, you're going to put a lot of stress, just like we were talking about stress coming out of the reel on that Gorilla Flex. So you don't want to keep bending these hoses really sharp, because that's not good. So I carry these, when I had one solid piece, I didn't have to worry, and I just zip tie it real quick, and then I roll it up, and I don't have the stress on the hose. So there's a little tip for you. So that's been done. And if you haven't noticed, these little pipes in the corner, they go up to a ladder rack. So guy came over, I told you I found the mobile guy. He made a nice little ladder rack for my extension, and he welded it down there in the corner and on the rail, so it's pretty sturdy all the way around. And so I actually had to buy some of these new pins. They've been sitting around so long because I haven't used it. So I think they're on Amazon when I do that. But look at that. That's what the SH does to your little wires there. But I have stabilizers on the bottom. I also have one for the top. And I would recommend the very first accessory you buy is stabilizers. And that's a 24-foot Warner. You can get that already with stabilizers on it. Let's see, what else did I miss? Did I miss anything? I think that's it. It's ready for water. I'm going to pressurize it. I'm going to fill that tank up, make sure that's not leaking. And then I'm going to hook up the gun to it and spray off this nasty dirt and stuff on this porch because it flooded here from the hurricane. You can see all that junk. And we'll check that out, and that'll be ready to go. And then I'll be off to building the Softwash side of it, which is basically another hose reel. I don't know if I'll buy a blend manifold or make my own. Actually batching is more precise. I'll get into it later. All these guys that make these manifolds will tell you different, but I can prove it by the not the science, but by the actual math. There's a formula, and I'll show you that formula later. So that wraps it up, kids. The ladder rack's looking good. I was going to clean it up and paint it, but the guy said, "Oh no, don't do that. All this manufacturing." See that when I touched it? He said, let the rain hit it a couple times, let the sun hit it for a while, and then spray paint it. It'll hold just fine, and you'll be good. So whether I wait a day or a week or whatever, I'll wipe it all down really, really good with acetone, and then I'll spray paint those black. And a funny story is, he was supposed to put another one here and forgot. And my 6 foot or 8 foot ladder. It hooks up there and it comes about 3 inches short here. And while he was here, he's like, "Oh man, I don't have material. I can grind that off and move it over." And I went, "No, I'll just wait. I can put the little 6 foot or 8 foot ladder in here for now, and we'll hook it up later." So that's the tips I have for you guys. Make sure that you're using the right parts. These hose fittings, these are all low pressure down here. So you don't have to go out and, all those people that tell you can build a rig cheap. Let me just tell you another thing. I'm not putting all these in links and stuff on Amazon, wherever, but if you can buy stuff online, because if you go to Ace Hardware or Lowe's, they're like almost double. You know, I went to get some 3/4 hose. Online had 3/4 braided hoses for $36 for 25 feet. Home Depot was $25 for 10 feet. All these little brass fittings, they're low pressure, which are good, but mostly these nipples in there and not these. These came with it. But you're starting to look at $8 or $9 a pop. Where if you're trying to save some money, you can use the plastic ones and save a ton of money, or get to see even the stainless steel ones, like the ones I put over there that were 1/2 inch, or I guess it's on the Godzilla hose, which are 1/2 inch female. That one over there by 3/4 barb. That was like $13 for two of them. You go to Home Depot, they don't even carry them. So, shop around a little bit. This trailer is going to be pretty expensive. Don't freak out when I give a total of it in another video, but you're going to save even more money because you're not going to put as many pieces parts. All you need to do is put that ball valve and come all the way around and skip all this except for the strainer. You can buy a cheaper strainer than that one, a 1 inch strainer. But that's actually $50, I think, and even Home Depot, but you can get one online, and not have all those fittings and the other ball. That'll save you a ton of money. You can add them later. That little strainer, that 3/4 one, that was online. That's, half the price of what Lowe's charges. So there's ways to save even more money than like the barrels I bought cheap and the trailer I bought cheap and whatnot. So guys, have a great day. Share, like, subscribe, use those links, and ask some questions and I'll give you some answers. Later, Gators.